Well, Merry almost Christmas. It's got to come back, Brad Stine. This is Brad Stine Has Issues, where comedy, Christianity, and conservatism collide in a cacophony of clarity. You know, it's funny, with Christmas coming up here in a few days, the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ, the only human that's ever proven to be actually God, who is actually leading us to the actual Father of all things. We have a very interesting guest. Her name, Işık Abla, and she was a former Muslim and became a Christ follower. She talks about her faith. And, you know, I just thought this is an important subject because we have a lot of people discussing right now the differences in the belief systems of all of the people on earth, but especially in the West. You know, there's something I think that's important that you discuss when it comes to the idea of tolerance and open-mindedness. And that's one thing that the progressives absolutely live their lives by, and that is the pretendingness that they're open-minded. Nobody is more committed to pretending to be open-minded than the progressive left. Nobody is more committed to give the illusion that they are tolerant of all ideas than the progressive leftists. And nobody has done a better job at convincing themselves that they are open-minded and care about every single idea equally. No matter what you believe, everybody's given equal dignity, everybody's given equal morality, justice, goodness. Everybody gets exactly the same thing, and that is the number one virtue of progressivism that they have leveraged to pretend that they're good when it comes to how they treat people they disagree with. So we are back, and we are talking about tolerance. We are talking about free speech. We are talking about all ideas being treated equally. And I don't see any other way to best move into that than to introduce my sidekick and my son, Wyatt Stine. Wyatt, thank you so much for giving me the Christmas gift of your presence here on the show.
Well, what can I say? It was the only gift you actually told me you wanted.
Yeah, I always see you as the ultimate culmination of everything I could have ever wanted. I mean, it's almost like you're equal to a razor, socks, slippers. What else is it that I consider you equal to? Oh, a pipe, a good old pipe. You know, how many times did you used to wake up in the morning? You know, when you were a kid, not that you're an adult now, but you'd wake up on Christmas morning, you'd come down to the sweet smell of a pipe as your dad was sitting there in his long, luxurious robe in his slippers, smoking on his big old pipe, Santa-like, and just waiting for you and your sis to come on downstairs so you could open the presents from the guy that snuck into your house in the middle of the night, ate all your cookies, drank all your stuff, always made a mess out of it, and then took off. He had a lot more stops that night. Do you remember the pipe, son?
I mean, no, because you kind of got the story mixed up.
Oh, say, go ahead.
Christmas time was not when you would be up just in your robe, smoking your pipe, just enjoying the brief moment of solitude before it was time for family engagements and presents. No. Christmas was when me and my sister woke up at exactly 5 a.m. And you, unfortunately, did too. But not of your own volition. That was Christmas time. Christmas time was the only point in my life where I legitimately, no matter how hard I tried, could not fall asleep. It was the longest 8 hours of the year.
Well, and didn't you guys also have a tradition that you guys would get together and watch Home Alone, maybe?
Yeah. We did that every year for like a few of them.
Yeah, and that was fun, right? You got to watch that. Maybe you had popcorn. I don't remember. And by the way, just for those of you out there listening who are aghast, if you're Baptist, that I would smoke a pipe, I kind of didn't. It was big, kind of a joke to set this off
Yeah, it
as
was one of
some.
those like bubble pipes, you
Yeah,
know?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I mean which made about as much of a mess, honestly.
It
But
sure did, and didn't smell as good. But that's not true. I have smoked a pipe in my lifetime. There was a time when I went through a pipe phase. I don't know if any of you out there have ever gone through a pipe phase. I had a
yeah,
cigar phase.
you were a real pipe head.
I was. I had some cool ones. I had what I think was called a meerschaum. It was a big long stem, almost like a leprechaun, little
Yeah,
tiny thing.
the Sherlock Holmes pipe.
No. That's a well, maybe that is, and maybe I misrepresented the name. Sherlock Holmes is the big old thing that goes up in there like a bell, and you go like that.
Yeah.
Mine was like a real long stem, and way down here was a bowl, and so it'd be way down here like that. Anyways, it was expensive when I
So
bought
it was a didgeridoo then.
I don't know, maybe
Because
ish.
didgeridoo was like that really long instrument that like
Yeah.
yeah. So you didgeridoo not smoke anymore.
Yeah, I don't. I don't smoke it anymore. Pipes, even though I enjoyed it. I like the way that you could create your own blend. You go into the tabacchiere, put your own blend in, your own smell, and I just think it's the sweetest smell is pipes, more so than cigars. Though some people like the smell of cigars. But one thing I never did, and I did it all. Over the years ago, I did pipe for a while, got on that kick, got off that kick. I did cigars for a while, got on that kick, got off that kick. Matter of fact, one of the ways that it helped me write my second book, and the book that was actually commissioned by an actual publisher to write a book. I got up every morning, had a quick cigar outside, cheap ones from the 7-Eleven, and coffee to get kind of jacked. And then I went in and I went and just did the best I could to try to nail it. I had a lot of words. I think I was responsible for 70,000 words is what I was contracted to do. And so I was just scared to death I wasn't going to get there. So every morning I just went, I don't know if I ever told you guys the story of how I got that written and the funny conclusion when I figured out I had enough words. That might be another story for another day. But anyways, that was cigarage. Years ago when I was real young, in my 20s, I used to dip Skoal in Copenhagen, and even Redman a little bit. So I've had all those over my lifetime, those experiences. What I never did, never was addicted to or had a season was cigarettes. Never liked them, didn't like the smell, didn't like anything about them. So thank you, God, I never started cigarettes because they stink and they're the worst. So that was a problem I never had. But nevertheless, I'm sitting here now with Christmas just coming up on us right around the corner. And I told you guys earlier when I first started this conversation that one of the things I found interesting around this time of year is a phenomenon that took place when we posted a clip that I did many years ago, though, we post stuff that's old. Any of my material outside of Laugh While It's Legal is old. Laugh While It's Legal is now over a year old, but all my other stuff is much, much older. But the oldest of old stuff was something that I made in 1999, New Year's Eve night at, I think it was Horizon Christian Fellowship, if I remember. Mike McIntosh was the pastor, and he always loved me and brought me in. He was a Calvary Chapel guy. He was there with the Chuck Smiths and Greg Laurie's and Skip Heitzig's and all. Raul, what was his name? Raul. There was a Hispanic guy. I forgot his name. I used to listen to him, liked him. But anyways, he used to bring me in a lot, and I did his New Year's Eve, and we used their gear to film me shooting this. Basically, my first album. That wasn't my first one. Was CD only. That's back in the 90s when they had CDs. But this went to video, my first video, and it was done in 1999. It was called, I was going to say Laugh While It's Legal. It was called Rebel Without a Curse. And, it was very fortuitous. I had a guy reach out to me. I don't know when it was, a year or two ago, and he said, "Hey, I've always loved your album that I bought many years ago, or VHS or whatever it was when he got it way back in the day." He said, "I got to tell you, I probably don't agree with most anything you believe now, or whatever you say. I don't know if he means by faith or by my conservative values." But he said, "But I loved the album. I think it's very funny, and it was like in VHS, and so I digitized it so that I could keep watching it. And would you like a copy?" I said, "Oh, would I ever?" Because Rebel Without a Curse, I thought, was lost to the dustbins of comedy yuckathons. And so for some guy to come out of the bin and send me that, and then we sent it to our publicist guys that send out our little clips, and we put it out, I think, on YouTube, which you can watch the full session, Rebel Without a Curse. Now, I made Rebel Without a Curse, as I said, in 1999. I mean, the day before 2000. So Wyatt, you were born in 96, so you were like 3.5 years old when I made this this album, and so you probably don't remember it. You were probably at home asleep with somebody babysitting you. That would be the hope, that your mother and I didn't leave you all to your own devices. Speaking of which, Wyatt, do you remember growing up as a young kid when you first were, it's a little off topic, but it just made me think about this. Do you remember the first time you would be kind of scared to be by yourself as a kid? Do you remember any of those moments?
No, not really.
Okay. So you were never kind of scared to be in your room by yourself?
Oh, definitely. I just don't remember it.
Oh, okay.
I remember one moment, actually,
All right, let's hear.
where you got me a Super Mario 64 sort of hologram of him like jumping.
Mm.
And I didn't know what a hologram was at the time.
Mhm.
So I would like wake up in the middle of the night, look at my wall, and see my pictures move.
Mm.
And that was not a fun time.
So it kind of looked like it was three-dimensional. Or
No.
what?
A hologram is like when you, so you know the Ripley's Believe It or Not books? How, like,
Yes.
that cover is like one image, and then when you look at a different way, it's a different image.
Yes.
That's a hologram.
Okay.
So that's what it was.
And we made a post. There was a poster on.
There was like a little card of Mario like jumping, but it was a hologram. So like depending on the angle was where he was in the jump.
I see.
And I didn't know what a hologram was, so I just thought my stinking thing was possessed or something.
Oh, where was this?
This was
Here in Tennessee?
yeah, oh yeah, like not too long after we moved, I believe.
Okay, so you were like 6-ish,
Yeah.
I think, when we
Yeah,
moved.
it was when I had that black sort of dresser thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And spooky. So I got you something that frightened you to no end.
Oh, terrified.
I'm
Yes,
so
absolutely.
sorry, son. That is the last thing I wanted to do. Trust me. Well, listen. It's interesting though that I try to remember times of when you were young. I try to remember times of Christmas past, and I can think of, it's funny, as you get older, you think of all the different things that your life has experienced and the things you've seen and done, and it's all a tapestry of who you were and what your history is. And most of it is yours. Most of history and most of life that you've experienced was yours, and yours only. Other people may have been involved, but they may have very well forgotten some significant thing that happened. It's kind of like sometimes your parents can do something to you, say a cross word, or do something that really hurts deeply the child, and the parent doesn't even know what happened, or they blow it off. It's like, oh, sorry about that. And it sticks with the kid forever. So, our thoughts, our ideas, our words, they have ramifications. And so when I began to do comedy, I really, really was trying to do the hardest thing possible when it comes to doing comedy. And that was not only doing it well enough that people laugh, doing it well enough that it's consistent. It's not, you didn't just kind of get, fortunate enough to get a good crowd one night, but it's consistent. That, by the way, is what you're being hired for as a headliner, is consistency. When you get hired as a professional comic, especially as the headliner, it's not even so much that you're funny, even though you should be, but the middle act is usually very funny. There's no pressure on the middle act. If they do fine, but the headliner comes up and blows them away, That's what was supposed to happen. That's why they're the middle act or the feature act. But if you go up there and just crush it and steal all the laughs, and the headliner comes up and maybe is struggling to compete with you, hey, you had nothing at stake. You never said you were the headliner, and yet you get to take all the glory if people happen to like you more. So it's very difficult to make a living, and that's the third thing, to make a living being a professional comedian, that people actually pay you regularly to do this thing and they'll come out and see you. And so that was, and I've said this many times, that's really my first goal, was just to be funny. Now, I was a Christian, I was a Christ follower, thus I wanted to be funny and yet honor God. So when I was in the comedy clubs, I didn't curse and I didn't do sexual jokes. So I tried to be clean. I tried to be, edgy without using language, with my body, with my energy, with my aggressiveness, with my unapologetic belief in something. And little did I know that as I was developing my show and my style, my technique, that I was going to really find my comedy more as a vehicle to make a stance for something, truth, make a stance for faith, make a stance for my philosophy, my conservative values, patriotism, gratefulness for my country. These were things that I was going to do as a comic, and I didn't know. I didn't know that's what I was going to do as a comic. I was just trying to be funny. Again, hard enough just to be funny. But the only way comedy works, folks, the only way it really works is if you are true to yourself. If it's coming from an honest place. Yeah, you're gonna magnify some ideas. Yeah, you're gonna hyperbolize some ideas. You're going to fudge some truths, or you might magnify or I don't know, just embellish. That's really, because remember, a comedian isn't there to kind of tell a story about their real life like you're having a conversation with a friend. A comedian is there to make you laugh, to bring laughter there. So obviously, if you can relate to it, the biggest sort of generator of humor is the idea that people say, oh, I've thought of that, or that's true. People love the truth, even if the truth makes them uncomfortable or whatever. So I'm just trying to make that work. And you try to be true to yourself. And it was only when I really decided that I needed to lock down a perfect set. I had to choose my favorite, best material, put it into an order that I felt was coherent and smooth and worked perfectly. That's what I had to do. And then I had to stick with it. And I wanted to do it over and over again, so that I knew that every time I went to a club or whatever, this is going to work. My opening is going to get them. They're going to laugh. My middle stuff is going to be strong enough and hold their attention. And my closing is going to end strong. So that was the goal. And prior to really locking down that perfect set, that one that would start me and launch me, I was experimenting with lots of material. I had worked in lots of clubs over the years. Remember, the Rebel Without a Curse was shot in 1999. Well, I had been doing comedies from the 90s on, so almost 10 years by the time I shot this, in all these different clubs. So I was always writing, always working out new material, always trying new stuff. And so I had a lot of material, and I had to choose, well, what am I going to use as kind of my launching pad? Well, one of the things that really began to blossom in my point of view, and this is 1999, so it started kind of in the mid-90s, was the idea of being a conservative. And I said, I am a conservative. I'm a conservative comic. I'm a conservative man. I'm a Christ-following man, a Christian man. So I see things through the lens of Christianity, through conservatism, as an American patriot. In other words, I'm very grateful for this nation. I'm fond of this nation because I think it's given a lot of freedom and amazing opportunities to more people, more ethnicities than any other country in history. So when I saw that was an underrepresented part of America in the comedy world, in the entertainment world in general, and remember, this is the 90s. Think about where we're at now compared to then, as far as leftism running all of the arts for the most part and not allowing a conservative viewpoint or Christian viewpoint. But this was what I started, and I kind of launched. I don't know how you say it, but I was one of the first notable, aggressively unapologetic conservative Christian comics ever in the United States. And then I started bringing in Christian elements into my point of view, and that made me unique because I was trying to be sophisticated. So that being said, one of the things that began to really hit me wrong was Christmas and how people were stopping the idea of saying Merry Christmas. And I grew up where everybody said Merry Christmas, and it was in all the stores, and it was Christmas this, and it was a Christmas tree. And suddenly, little by little, I saw, you know what? We don't want to offend somebody that doesn't celebrate Christmas. Let's call it a holiday tree. Let's call it Happy Holidays. And nothing is wrong with that. But what was fascinating was that it was done not to be open-minded or to be sensitive so much to other points of view, because up until that point, if people said Merry Christmas, people just kind of understood this was a Christian nation. Most people were Christians. It was built on Christian values and morality and ethics. So that became our traditions. That doesn't mean other people weren't welcome, but yeah, it's okay, for example, to have a country that speaks English. Does that mean we should just say hi and start speaking in multilingual language every time we have a conversation? Well, no, because we're in America, it was built by English folks. We speak English. So it's not a disrespect to not speak every other language. If you want to, be my guest. And if you can, I think that's great. But it's okay to have a particular standard, a particular history, a particular tradition that drives who you are as a nation. And Christianity is that focal point of morality. And Christmas, of course, is a worldwide celebration. And maybe the most, since Christianity is the top religion on earth, and Christmas is probably the most celebrated religious holiday on earth. So yeah, for English-speaking Christian nations to emphasize Christmas, but still giving you the right to emphasize Ramadan or emphasize Hanukkah or whatever you might represent, that's okay. But the Christian values gives us the ability to make a standard and then say anybody else that wants something else, that's fine too. And you can do whatever you want. Christianity isn't allowed to forbid you to disagree. And that's what's important. So I'm going to show you guys a clip and then talk about it. A clip that came out of this 1999 special, Rebel Without a Curse. And I want you to think of two things. Number one, remember this was done 99, so that's 26 years ago. And also, secondly, I want you to watch this, because after that, we're going to show the evolution of this clip in the album that launched me in the Christian world, which was going to come up right after this. So for right now, here's a quick clip from Rebel Without a Curse about Christmas.
I like that. We got a Happy New Year, folks. We are about to change. A big, giant change is happening, folks. 1,000-year millennium, 100-year century, new year, man. It's happening just in a few hours. And we can say that, too, Happy New Year. What a great thing. I just say Happy New Year. Nobody's afraid of that, are they? Nobody's afraid to say Happy New Year. We just passed a holiday, didn't we? What was that? Christmas. But nobody says that anymore, do they? Merry Christmas. Used to say it. Merry Christmas. Oh, Merry Christmas to you. What do people say now? Oh, Happy Holidays. See, I don't want to say Happy Holidays because I don't want to say Christmas because you don't believe in Christmas, because I don't want to offend you because I... How can you be offended by it? Yeah, nothing more offensive than Christmas. Let me think. But I'm trying to think, what is worse, that peace on earth or that goodwill towards men thing? Man, does that offend me. It's ridiculous that people say Happy Holidays like, oh, they're trying to mask the fact that they don't want to say Christmas. Oh, Happy Holidays, because there's so many holidays in December. There's two. Hanukkah and Christmas, that's it. I mean, unless you're going to count Boxing Day. There's one called, have you seen that? December 26th, there's some holiday called Boxing Day, which I don't know, apparently represents all the fights you get into trying to return all the junk you got for Christmas and what that's all about. Yeah, I'd like to return this fruitcake. Quit selling fruitcakes! Two holidays, Hanukkah and Christmas, they act like we gotta say holidays so we can get them all in. Or no, people don't want to say Christmas because Christmas has Christ in it, and after 2,000 years, he's still intimidating people. That's what's going on. He's still scaring. See, it's intellectual lies, and because of their bias. Because what about Valentine? Okay, let's take February. February's got like 20 holidays in it. Nobody says Happy Holidays in February. They They say Happy President's Day. They say Happy Valentine's Day. Nobody's scared. Oh, I didn't mean to say Valentine's in case you don't believe in love. They say what it is. Nobody's ashamed. Nobody's embarrassed. They're taking it too far. People get all in show. Oh, I got all offended. You got to be kidding me. The whole world's got to stop because some atheist got offended. I'll tell you what. Why don't you move to Baghdad? Start getting offended at their holidays. They'll tolerate that about as long as it takes to cut off your hand. But they don't. See, that's what's cool about it. It's okay. It matters, though. Christmas is a great holiday. It matters where you have Christmas, too. Last Christmas, I was in Las Vegas. Talk about an old-fashioned Christmas. Just like when I was a kid. Oh, boy, yeah. Neon lights everywhere. People puking in the curbs. Parents gambling away all my Christmas money. Just like Grandma's house. It's weird, though. It's weird because what happened? The guy fell off the stage. It's okay. All right. Suddenly the cameraman was like, I really hurt my knee bad on that one.
So, for those of you who are familiar with a more elaborate version of that, and actually if you're seeing that for the first time, actually saw pieces of my Christmas routine that didn't end up in the more famous version of it, that's kind of how it looked. And I thought, as comedy fans, and if you're fans of mine, you might find it interesting to see the evolution, because 4 years later, in 2003, I made this first well-known album, even though it's kind of my second one. And you see the evolution of 4 years later, that routine to be a little bit more specific and have a little bit more of a punch behind it, a little bit more consistency, a little bit more completeness to it. And so you might find that fascinating. But one of the things that I did want to say was, when we posted that clip that you just saw and on my Facebook, I went to it, and I think as of today, this morning, there's well over 400 comments, maybe more, on that clip. And two things I want you to know. Number one, you'd see a lot of people saying, I only say Merry Christmas. Yeah, I believe in Merry Christmas. I want to say, nobody gets to tell me not to say Merry Christmas. But another thing you'll see is a lot of people coming on saying, oh, you Christians always looking to become victims. There is no war on Christmas. And I was curious about these because I find it very fascinating that the only religious group on earth that are not allowed to tell the folks that they are being persecuted are Christians. Now, you might think, oh, well, yeah, that's the point. You're just have a persecution complex. Well, listen, just do any basic Google search and ask this question, not through a Christian group, through a basic human rights group. What is the number one persecuted religious group on earth in the last even 10 years? The answer is Christians. We've had over 500,000 butchered in Nigeria over the last 10 years. They are constantly being attacked, shot, killed. And even this week, if you haven't seen already, just keep your eyes open. There will be, I promise, attacks of people bursting in and shooting people who are celebrating or burning down their churches. It's happening in 2025, not in the year 25, not in year 125. This is happening right now against Christians. There are no Christian militia groups running into Islamic mosques and killing them. That's not happening. It's not a regular point of view. It's not something that is happening normally. If it did, it would immediately be condemned, not just by Christians, but by the Bible itself. See, that's the difference. The Bible's self-correcting. If somebody says, I'm a Christian, I'm going to kill you, not only can we say it's wrong, but the Bible can prove to you it's wrong. You're not allowed to do that. You're supposed to love your enemy. Pray for those that despitefully use you. So you clearly are breaking and breaching your own belief system about what it means to be a Christian. Whereas in Islam, you are allowed to kill the non-believer. Now, I'm not doing that to disparage folks. It's in their book. Just Google search. Are there passages that say you can kill an infidel, someone who's not? So there's a difference. People, and certainly most Muslims are not terrorists by any stretch of the imagination. But The difference is if somebody does do terrorism in that name, at least you can see it in their book where they got that ability. Whereas in Christianity, if we do it, our own book condemns us as being wrong and evil and bad and horrible representatives of Christ. So I think it's important that we notice that we're never allowed to say, listen, what happened to the ability to have a standard and to have a Christianity that kind of stood the test of time? Listen, we've had Christmas tree lighting ceremonies for how many years in New York and in the White House, and all of these. There was a time in New York City had colored their buildings in Christmas type things. It wasn't against anybody else. It was just saying this is something we all kind of celebrate. It's the majority of the folks, and we want to just say, here you go. And there's nothing wrong with having other people and other things being celebrated. Could care less. But to eliminate the single most important, influential one, to me is really a bit more telling. It's not about tolerance. It's about getting rid of the most problematic religion in history, Christianity, because it's true. Even to Jews who I come from that line, right? Because Christ was celebrated. I just came across Isaiah 53, I read last night, and it is one of the prophecies of what Christ will look like, or it's a prophetic prophecy about the Messiah. Well, it clearly is indicating Jesus. Go read it. So this is a one of a kind. And once you accept the Messiah, all the original Christians were Jews. All they did differently than any other Jew was they saw Jesus as the fulfillment of Messiah. I just agreed with them. That's what's so beautiful about Christianity. Lets everybody in, and I was grafted in. So in that regard, I have a Jewish connection, but only in the genealogical human observation, but it's all a spiritual commitment. But I want you guys to know that this was what I was fighting against as a comic, is not being able to say we are under attack, our values are under attack. They're not just trying to make everybody equal, they're trying to make sure we are unequal, that we are removed. Remember, it was there first. It was there first. Only because we're a Christian nation do other people have access and ability to put in their point of view. And the simple test is, are you allowed to go down in the middle of Saudi Arabia and celebrate Christmas? Are you allowed to do that in any Muslim country? Are you allowed to celebrate and not be in danger or even eliminated or even make it illegal? That's the difference. So yeah, I think it's important that we remember the holiday that represented the free speech and free autonomy and agency of a human that God gave us when he created the world and then revealed himself through Christ. So that being said, I want you guys to quickly see this clip from maybe my most famous album. But this was 4 years later, after I had decided I need that perfect set, and somewhere probably 3 years before this was filmed, I started doing it in the clubs. This set, this way, not changed, boom, boom, boom. And I feel like it was the best set I ever did as far as perfect from beginning, middle to end. It's not the greatest comedy of all time, but it was good for me. But for the most part, every joke mattered. Everything. There was no filler. There was no something that didn't work. It was funny through and through. So I want you to now to see a clip from my most famous album, and as you can just see, a little bit of an evolution 4 years later of my Christmas rant on this album that many of you might have heard of. If not, go look it up. It's on YouTube. Put a helmet on. Looks like this.
And I do thank God. I'm a theist. I'm a theist. I do believe that there is an intelligent designer. I do believe there's purpose and value in life. And I bring up God a lot in my show. You know why? Because I miss him. I miss God in my country. I miss him. You'll never know these things. You're 16 years old. You've grown up with spring break, not Easter break. You grew up with winter break, not Christmas. You don't know what I'm talking about. That's the world you got. I remember when everybody cared. I remember when people used to say things like Merry Christmas to each other. Everybody said, Merry Christmas! Hey, Merry Christmas to you, Mr. Lowenstein. You know why? Because it wasn't about a religion. It was about something as a culture we thought was so valuable that we'd all do it together, even if I disagreed with the religion behind it, because it was good for all of us instead of just me. But what do people say now? Happy holidays.
See, I just say happy holidays because I don't want to say Christmas because you don't believe in Christmas because I don't want to offend you because
It's amazing. This overuse of the word offensive is driving me out of my mind. I mean, excuse me, sir, which part is more offensive, the peace on earth or the goodwill towards men rhetoric? It's such a disingenuous argument. It's not real. Oh, yes, we want to say happy holidays because we don't want to leave anybody out. Really? How come there's a ton of holidays in February? Nobody ever says happy holidays in February, do they? They say what it is. Happy Valentine's. Oh, do you believe in love? They don't care. Happy Valentine's is fine. Happy Hanukkah is fine. You see, that's what it's all about. In December, we've got two religious holidays, one cultural holiday, and one holiday that I'm not sure what it is, Boxing Day. Ever seen that? December 26th, Boxing Day. What does it mean? Nobody knows. Apparently, it's the day after Christmas. It must be all the fights we get in returning the junk we got the night before. Yeah, I'd like to return the fruitcake. We don't take them. Happy Boxing Day. But nobody wants to say Christmas, everything else but Christmas. Why? I know why. You do too. It's because it's got Christ in it, and that for 2,000 years, he's still intimidating people. You see, when a religious person says, I'm the way, people don't want to hear it. They don't. They don't. And I want to say it to the rafters. I've even seen Christian people not say Merry Christmas. There are people in China right now, Christians who are in jail because they had a page of the Bible. And Christians in this country won't even say Merry Christmas. It amazes me, the cowardice. That's the price you pay when you're rich and safe. Airline industry still hasn't recovered. You know why? People aren't getting on planes. They're afraid. Think of that. We have traded safety and comfort for freedom. We're going to lose this country if we talk like that. I say you got to say Merry Christmas because it is. You don't believe in it, fine. But I have a flash for you. Christianity happens to be the religious heritage of my country, whether you like it or not. Christianity happened to be the belief system of 99.9% of the founding fathers, whether you like it or not. Every single founding father said that the Bible would be used as a fulcrum for the laws and ethics in this country, whether you like it or not. And they said it should be taught in school so kids would know where their ethics come from. So if you're not a Christian or you don't like it and you don't want Christmas celebrated, God bless you. But let me tell you something. If you think you're going to stop me from saying it because it offends you, hey, I got a flash for you. Put a helmet on.
So as you can see, that is a little bit of the beginning that moved into it, but it got a little bit more, less wordy, a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more precise. And by the way, that particular clip ended up on a album, a song called Christmas with a capital C. There was a group called Go Fish, and were an a cappella group, and they asked me, we had the same manager, could I sample a couple of your rants from that particular clip and put it into a song called Christmas with a capital C? And I said, of course, just give me credit so they know who's doing the jokes. And they did. And the year it came out, it was quite a few years ago, it blew up on Christmas Christian station throughout the country. Blew up. Millions of views were made on it. And from that came the film Christmas with a capital C, which I also was in too. So that was a lot of fun. But I just wanted you to see what I was fighting for. And I guess I found myself after that 3 albums later. So this is probably another 5 years later, 5 to 6, if I remember, could be a few more, maybe 2010. I should have looked. But anyways, at least 2008. So at least 5 years later, I revisited Christmas and a rant about Christmas, and it takes a little bit of a more dimension, a little bit different nuance, but it was called Wussification. That was the name of that album, shot in Texas. And just to show you another way to explore the same topic, still concerned about the idea that people are removing Merry Christmas from the stores, or that you're told in big business, some businesses, you're not allowed. I've been there where you're said you're not allowed to say Merry Christmas. I've been in these places. It's real. Is it a war? No, just a disconnect, just a disrespect of Christmas under the guise of being respectful to all. So here's another version of Christmas that I did on the album Wussification. Anyways, hope you like it.
I just got one thing to say to you people to start this night off right. One thing only. Merry Christmas. Did you hear me? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, kids. Look at the people. Why is he saying Merry Christmas? It's February. Mother, he's scaring me. I'll tell you why. Because I just have reached a place in my life where I figured if there are Americans in this country, which would make sense being that it's America, but if there are Americans who actually believe that it is offensive and insensitive to say Merry Christmas at Christmas time, well, the least I can do is then say it the other 11 months of the year. I figure that's a good trade-off. I'll say it the other 11. Makes sense. Makes sense. Sure, if it makes sense you can't say it at Christmas time, that must make sense you can say it the other time. I'm going to say it all the time. It's going to be my new buzzword. People call me on the phone. Is Brad there? Merry Christmas. Policemen are stopping you. You know how fast you were going? Merry Christmas. Doctor's visit. I think we found some polyps in that colon. Merry Christmas. I'm saying it all the time. I'm going to say Merry Christmas so often, they're going to beg me to save it for Christmas time. And I'll tell you why, because I believe in the truth. That's all I have is the truth, my brothers and my sisters. All I have is the truth, and that's what I want to speak about. And the truth of the matter is, most people celebrate Christmas. If there's another religion, another belief system, you have the right to disagree. I don't care. That's what America is. But you have got to be kidding me to act like there's tons of people that might be offended by Christmas. I'm sorry, but how many people don't? So you can celebrate Christmas in this country. What, 4? Well into the 90% of people are Christmas shoppers. And yet the retail establishments actually took Merry Christmas signs out of their stores. The same stores, by the way, that start advertising in July for you to show up at Christmas time, who beg you to show up so they can make some money, took our signs out because they wanted to be, inclusive. And there's no inclusiveness. They're acting like there's all these other people that if they don't show up, they're going to lose money. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, but, if you lose all those last-minute winter solstice buyers, you're going to lose a lot of dough. No, I don't think so. No, but I'll tell you what, if Christmas shoppers don't show up, you're in trouble. So I say we try an experiment since you're so inclusive. Here's what we're going to buy this Christmas. Are you ready? All the Christmas shoppers, here's what we're going to buy. Ready? Nothing! Look at the kids. Ah! Why, I would do anything for the Lord. No presents. Ah! He's asking too much. Send me to Africa instead. We're not buying nothing, you hear me? We're not gonna buy a gift, we're not gonna buy a ribbon, we're not gonna buy a card, we're not gonna buy a tree, we're not gonna show up in one retail establishment in the month of December in case our presence is offensive. What do you think they'll do the following year? Keep them signs down because they feel like they've done something good for America? No, let me tell you what they'll do the following year. Not only will Merry Christmas signs return, they'll be 50 feet high in neon with fireworks shooting out of the top of them.
So in the end, guys, what am I trying to say? It is now 2025. In just a couple weeks, it'll be 2026. It will be a new year. I will be an older man. And I wanted to kind of sign off this particular podcast with this. As much as my comedy and part of what made me, I guess, have some notoriety is that I stood up for my Christian values, and I hope that I always will as long as the Lord allows me to stick around. As much as I stuck up for conservative values, and notice I only speak of conservative values when they are in alignment with my Christian values. My Christianity trumps everything. My following of Christ is the trump card of everything else. He is Lord Messiah of my life, and I want to glorify him in my life in any way that he demands. And my prayers I will be able to do just that. But I want you to know that one thing I think you do get, I hope, One of the things you guys know I've been shooting for so much is being a disciple, a deeper Christian follower, being sensitive to other people's, being sensitive to bringing people to the Lord, being sensitive to wanting and caring about other people's souls. And there's nothing wrong with being strong and unapologetic. Actually, I wrote a whole routine and I had an album called Unapologetical. So I'm not afraid of being unapologetic at all. As a matter of fact, I think you should be a bold witness, absolutely committed to your faith and unapologetic about your faith in Christ. That should be the truth. But they should see it not with a hammer, not with a jackhammer, not with a sledgehammer. They should see it in how you treat fellow people. And a famous, a term I just heard recently, how do you treat people you don't need, as a great way to define what kind of a believer you are. And so this is something I really would like you guys to observe. It's in Philippians 4, 4, I think it's 4:4, that it says this: rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. Let your gentleness be seen among men. The Lord comes soon. That there should be a gentleness to this, folks. You got to understand, when I'm doing comedy, it's an act. I'm playing a role. I believe things I'm saying, but of course it's magnified because I'm playing a role. It's like being an actor. So it might be a little bit more sarcastic, a little bit more dark. It might be a little bit more edgy, because that's the way I deliver that particular type of comedy. But ultimately, in real life, when you watch me on Brad Stine Has Issues podcast and who I am and where I'm trying to go with all of this, I'm learning to be so much more sensitive to other people and to love. I used to get so angry when I see all the people that take my clips and just slam my faith and slam. And I'm learning literally to turn around and say, pray for them, pray that they will come to know you. By the way, a lot of these slams you'll see on these, if you go look at my Facebook, I hope you're likes and subscribing to all of my Facebook and my YouTube channel, please. But if you do see some of them, be careful, because some of them are just bots. If you go look on them, it'll be like, there'll be no friends. It's just kind of some fake thing. I don't know who sets it up. I don't know how they end up in it. It's a waste of your time. There's nobody there to talk to. It's like an AI thing. So don't mess with it. Don't play with it. Don't waste your time with it. But there are some folks that maybe are really there and really care, and they're atheists who desperately need to disparage you and mock you. They get great pleasure in mocking your faith. Folks, love them, care about them. Seriously, be so separate from personalizing and emotionalizing their attack on you, because they're attacking Jesus. And yeah, we want to defend our Savior, but he's already died for that. So let's not besmirch his name by attacking them or doing likewise. They need to see somebody different. They need to see somebody who acts in such a unique way that they know this is a better way to live. Atheism offers nothing but do whatever you want. You can be moral or not. It's completely up to you. Christianity doesn't give you that option. You serve Christ, you give your life to him, and you act and behave as God would demand. So that is the difference, and it's what gives society something beautiful, the truth, and that done in a way that is the most difficult. How do you treat those you don't need, and how do you treat those who despise you? That changes everything. So I say all that to say, Christmas is coming, and so in some odd way, I don't want this to seem to be a little bit out of sorts. Christmas should be about the greatest gift ever given to humanity, Christ. So, we're talking now about a woman who came from Islam, but I think it's important because there's a lot of Muslims who are searching. There are a lot of Muslims who are becoming Christ followers. They're abandoning that. And I just thought that this was an important topic because there's been so much going on right now. And because, folks, I pray no, but it's very likely you're going to see some attacks against Christians by Muslims. So I want you to kind of know a little bit more about it. What does it mean to be a Muslim? What do they actually believe? How does it actually affect the world? And why is it important to understand what it is? Because if it is a false belief and if it is not of God, it needs to be fought against. Just belief system that is not God breathed, because otherwise it's going to destroy. So that being said, I wanted you to listen to this amazing testimony. It'll also give you a chance to learn more about Islam if you want to, and how to witness to these folks, how to love these folks, how to care about them. A lot of good Muslims out there for sure. But maybe even participate in the ministry. And by the way, as we get to the end of the year, I do want to tell you something. If you go to bradstine.com, you can donate to my ministry. We could use it. If you believe that what I say and what I might say in the future and where this ministry may go matters and you'd like to keep it around, please go donate. And if you can do it on a regular basis, that'd be great help. It is a tax deduction. It's my ministry, but just wanted to, I don't say that enough, and I've never had somebody really fund us ever, but there might become some circumstances soon where I will need that support. So I'm saying to you now, you guys are big fans that show up all the time, and you have supported me in numerous ways. But I just thought I'd throw it out there for you to do as you please. So here's what I'd like you to do. Have the merriest, greatest, most loving, Christ-driven Christmas you can have. Love your enemy. Pray for those who despitefully use you. Love your family. Be kind. Stand out. Be supernatural naturally. Let the Spirit of God lead everything you do. And let's see if we can bring a great third awakening revival to America and around the world as we remember and honor the greatest gift ever given to humanity, God himself becoming us so we could spend forever with him. So there's another religion that disagrees. We're going to learn about it right now. So please enjoy this conversation with Işık Abla. Hey folks, very excited about this particular interview. I always love all of my interviews, but this one is timely. This one is important. We're going to be talking about something that is happening worldwide, has been happening worldwide, and has ramifications for anybody that believes in truth, in freedom, in safety, and free speech, and really just what does it mean to be part of the Western culture? And of course, Western culture was built on the Judeo-Christian ethic and about how it sees the world. And there are other philosophies and religions and ideas out there that are the antithesis of that. And we see that at play, unfortunately, sometimes in a very difficult, challenging, violent way. And we have to address it because it's happening. So this is a particular ministry. Işık Abla is her name, and she is a former Muslim, we're going to get into that, but also has a ministry and clearly a timely message for believers and for people in general who are curious and concerned about what's happening internationally when it comes to Islam and the rest of the world. So please welcome to Brad Stine Has Issues, Işık Abla. How do you do, my sister?
I'm doing great, Brett. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, it is my pleasure. And I certainly am grateful that you would come on here. But I got to tell you, very, very, very grateful for your ministry because, listen, any ministry is important. But this particular ministry that God pulled you out of, obviously is very timely and important and challenging in so many ways. So just so that I don't misrepresent you, but allow you to kind of thumbnail quickly just a little bit about who you are and what your calling is, just so people have a little bit of a background, and then we'll jump right in. So tell us kind of where you're from and how you got where you are, and what is your really ultimate call from Christ at this point.
Yes, absolutely. You know, God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. I am one of those foolish things, basically. And was born and raised in Istanbul, Turkey, in a devout Muslim home, been through a lot of abuse, physical, emotional, mental, sexual abuse when I was a little girl, and grew up during Civil War years. So I saw arms and legs were flying, people were killing each other in front of me. And then I turned to Allah because he was the only God presented in a Muslim country, and I wanted to find some answers. And during that time, I was brainwashed during Quran courses by radicals, which radicals represent 20 to 25% of the Muslims. So I just want to, from the get-go, I want to say a lot of things I may share. A lot of Muslims say, we are not those Muslims, but 20-25% of the Muslims are enough to hurt the world. So I became one of them by mindset first and foremost. And by age 12, I wanted to become a suicide bomber. This was my age 12 years old dream. And I found people like me. I connected with other radicals, and I was in a very abusive relationship with a radical Muslim man who and his family. They were working for jihad for the invasion of the United States of America through educational and political jihad, because jihad is not only physical, and I was part of that. Then for my life, I had to run to the United States for freedom. But for a long time, you can be in a free country without being free, of course. And a lot of other tragedies in my life led me to a point of contemplating my suicide. And on the day I was going to kill myself, my Christian boss at the workplace spoke into my life prophetically, and I surrendered my life to Jesus Christ in a miraculous way. He revealed himself to me. So I had an encounter with him. And from that moment on, I didn't know the definition of ministry or testimony, but I became a soul winner from the day one. And here I am today.
This all happened in Turkey?
It all happened in America after I came to the States.
Okay, great. So that's obviously, well, a lot of pieces of that puzzle, because, you weren't just a Muslim, but were, like you said, in the most radical version of it. So why don't we do this? Because I think a lot of people that listen to me or watch my show, obviously are Christians or more conservative. So they certainly are probably very sensitive to Islam and what it's doing to the culture, because we're affected by it. The conservative sees it more philosophically, like trying to invoke Sharia law, which is against a Western value law, and maybe they're concerned about freedom of speech, or even limiting religious liberties, which is crucial to American Constitution, but also to a Christian. We are watching, for example, I don't know if it's been 10 years, but at least 5 or 6, in, I believe, Nigeria, there's been at least 500,000 Christians butchered by Muslims. It just is true. They hunt them and they kill them, and nobody's done anything. Nobody cares, it seems. And so this is existential. This is real. It's happening. It's not something to be, sugar-coated or whitewashed. It simply is at stake. But I think that obviously a lot of us from the West embarrassingly don't know enough about other cultures and religions and philosophies sometimes to be able to figure out what's going on. So maybe you can help us here first. Let's figure out what Islam really is. What is it about, and where is it going? A good friend of mine, Rick Green, who started Patriot Academy in Texas, I don't know if you know Rick, but I just saw him post live from an airport a couple of days ago, right after the Australian, as we tape this, it's the Australian Hanukkah celebration where Jews were just being killed. He was so angry about this, and he just was so tired of the appeasement and the pretending that Islam is just another religion. He said, it's not a religion, it's a philosophy, and it's designed to destroy freedom and to control. So let's just see if he's right. Let's just see your perspective, and nobody would know better than someone who was actually there, and because you are a Christian now, and see it from a different perspective. You might even have seen things about that religion you didn't understand until you got an objective view. So let's start with Islam in general. So quick background, a bit about where did it come from, who started it, and is there kind of some basic foundational tenets that you have to believe in to become a Muslim?
Yes, thank you for bringing it up, and definitely your friend is right. He's correct about definition of Islam. But here, I just want to identify Islam in two categories. One is a religion of Islam. The other one is an ideology of Islam. So, religion of Islam is the Prophet Muhammad and believes in one Allah, one God, and it believes that Quran is the perfect book and its perfectness without a fault, and no question can be asked. This is a simple form, but also through kelime-i shahade, saying that Allah is the only God and Muhammad is his messenger, you come to faith. So there's a quite some similarities of a sinner's prayer, kind of a prayer. And with that prayer, that every Muslim prays that prayer, of course, but also Muslims have 5 pillars. One of them is, of course, 5 times a day prayer, fasting during the month of Ramadan, giving alms, and then, of course, other than those we have rules and regulations. Don't drink alcohol, don't eat. They have their own kosher, so forth, so on. But also, when you read Quran, a lot of Muslims, they don't read Quran. They just go to Quran courses or the mosque, and whatever is memorized to do their 5 times a day prayer, namaz, and they just memorize those, and they repeatedly, like 10 Hail Marys, they do those prayers, nothing else. So I studied Quran. I went to college. My major is Islamic literature. And so I memorized most of Quran in another language than Turkish language, which is in Arabic, and it is commanded to read in that language as well. So that is religion, but also in the Quran it is commanded to Muslims to kill infidels, Christians and Jews, mainly. So there's that hatred is injected. A lot of Muslims, as I said, 75-80% Muslims don't believe. I have family relatives, they don't believe in physical killing. Applies to today. They don't believe in physical jihad. But also, it is very important that they believe that you can earn a lot of good points, let's say, by turning world into a Muslim world. So the ideology starts coming from that. You can say it as a doctrine, a dangerous doctrine, of course. But when we are seeing the killing, we are not seeing in any other belief system or religion as much as we are seeing it right now. That is a danger of the Islamic invasion form of jihad in the world. So when we look at jihad, there are 8 types of jihads. This is not only physical jihad that, you just go to a holy war and kill people, but there's a population jihad. Oh, let's move to America as an ideology, not as only an immigrant with your family looking for a better life. Let's move to America and let's multiply in America as Muslims. That is one form. The other one is economical. All these sheikhs and billionaires from the petrol and gas and everything, let's buy land in America. And it's happening today. Educational jihad. Let's send our kids, Muslim kids, which I was part of that, to Harvard, Yale, Ivy League schools. We even had a president coming from that. I can tell you, these are all agendas of Islam. And then media jihad. Let's tell all the world Islam is a peaceful religion. Let's make everybody believe this is a media jihad. So all these jihads, this is a long subject that, I am writing a book about this to enlighten people. Those are as dangerous as this any form of jihad. Because at the end, it's gonna become physical anyway. At the end, it is about killing. At the end of it, it is about terrorism and terrorizing people and using our freedom in the United States and abusing that freedom to prevent our freedom in the future for every good citizen of this wonderful country. And that is the dangers of ideology of Islam. A lot of even Muslims, like you said, they don't know Quran, they don't even know this agenda. They don't even believe this agenda. But I want to tell you, consider it as a theory, consider it as this is my own opinion, but I am seeing it right now that America is already invaded by Sharia law and radical Islam.
What does jihad mean?
A holy war.
Holy war.
Yes.
So to you made a distinction, and it's important. I think in an dangerous way, in an odd way, in an ironic way. In Christianity, you're a Christ follower now. If you're not following Christ deeply, or you accept Christ, but then you kind of start living a secular life, or a more of a not adhering to God's call in your life, that they call it backsliding. It's like you're not following Christ as you should, and you're sinning, and you're kind of letting yourself get away with it, and you're really not connected. Well, it sounds to me like in some interesting way, is it your average Muslim is basically a backslidden Muslim. In other words, it's kind of a cultural thing. I'm a Muslim. I do my Muslim thing. Kind of like Christians' version is I go to church on Christmas and Easter, and that's it. Sounds to me like maybe a lot of these Muslims grew up that way. They accept it, but they don't really take it serious enough, and it doesn't affect their behavior and their lifestyle to go deep enough to understand, do you know what you are as a true believer? Because it sounds like a lot of these folks would be horrified to think, I don't want to kill people. Wait a minute, this is not what I want to do. And if you live in a Muslim country and you accept that you're a Muslim, even if you're not that good at it, you're probably left alone. So you don't think anything's going wrong. You're just kind of doing what you're told to do, and that's that. But clearly, the Muslims that take it seriously, who understand what's at stake and what's expected, well, they will just as easily kill a fellow Muslim if they're not adhering to the rules and the demands. And we also have these the different I'm ignorant as well. Ba'ath. There's two types of Muslims that are also in conflict, I guess. Why don't you, just to make me not look stupid, what are the two types? There was a split between the two Muslim groups. So there was like the Saddam Hussein guy, and then there was the other group. So can you help us with that? What that is?
Yes, absolutely. But first, I want to explain this. We call them good Muslims in the Western world. They are actually bad Muslims according to Quran.
Right.
So,
that's what I meant. Yeah.
So exactly, you explain it so well. I mean, there are Sunni Muslims, there are Shiite Muslims,
Sunni
and,
Shia.
and there are different sects between them, and they do divide. But that is a very large subject right now. However, I want to tell you, every Muslim, when it comes to, let's say, a war, they are united.
Okay.
And they are united for one cause, and that is the holy war. And that is, whether they are a good Muslim, they are not, but when it comes to times, and let's look at the Muslim world right now. Where is peace? When we are talking about Islam is a peaceful religion, where do you see? I've been to a lot of Muslim countries, and I travel all over the world. Like, where do you see any peace in any Muslim country? Please let me know. I want to go live there. And another point I want to make here is that in all those countries, you are right, absolutely, those Muslims are under a regime of Islam, are suffering right now. There are women that if their one little hair, tiny hair from their burqas show up in Iran, they pick them up from the street, take them to police station, and urinate on them, excuse my language, and brand them with a hot iron as a whore on their forehead. And those are the ones that are suffering also. And my ministry's primary goal to reach all Muslim world, obviously with the gospel message. And those are the ones coming to Christ right now, right and left. Let's say the good news too. What I want to really focus on here, who is influencing who? Because I was influenced by a wonderful Christian man who were walking with God and who were not giving me an information of Jesus, who was the revelation of Jesus Christ in front of me. And that changed my life. And I think that is the biggest subject right now for all of us, that yes, there are these Muslims that are suffering in their religion, and there are other radical Islamists that are like dictatorship making these people suffer because they are all terrorists. Not all Muslims are terrorists, but those group of radicals. And they are suffering under this. And they are ready for the truth of the gospel.
Well, and I think that the other thing that's simply true and has to be engaged with, and here's the thing, I'm a Christ follower, which means I am bound by the truth. Matter of fact, if someone was to tell me, define your faith with one word, I'd say truth. Because Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. It is unapologetic. It is the belief that there is one monotheistic God that created everything and put it into place and revealed himself through Christ through a lineage of Israel so that we could have a record of the people. This is historic. It's not some myth of people that lived and suddenly here comes Christ. So God really wanted you to understand this is real. This is who I am. So what is so important right now, especially for Christ followers. If you are a Christ follower and you believe it's true, you got to speak it up. And you have to remember that part of what your purpose is to redeem the brokenhearted, redeem a culture that has lost its way, redeem a sinful world. Now, of course, we're never going to get there until Christ returns, but we're supposed to try to return to Eden by bringing this blood of Christ to the world. And so part of that is speaking truth, because it's the only thing that can navigate people back from a lie. And so even for a Muslim who, like you said, doesn't want to kill people, is not a terrorist, it would just as soon be, live and let live. And I'm sure that's a big bunch of them. But if they lived in a community where suddenly it was taken over by Islam and Sharia law was imposed, they would jump in. Okay, I'm in. I'll be that then. Which means, and I hope it doesn't come across like I'm trying to incite anything, but I just think it's true. Virtually every Muslim is a sleeper cell. Mm-hmm. Virtually every Muslim is somebody who is happy to leave you alone. But if push comes to shove and Islam is introduced and becomes the power source, they're going to join them because they're already Muslims and they don't want to get killed and shot and thrown away. So this is the problem, is that all these peaceful, kind Muslims are potentially able to be revolutionized once that came into being, because they know the cost of going against Islam. Listen, I'm a comic. I'm a Christian. I'm used to people mocking my faith. Christianity is mocked and despised because it's the truth. And Jesus promised, if you're a believer, one of the ways to define that you are truly one of his is you'll be hated for his sake. That's part of the seeker-friendly churches said, let's make everybody love you because you're a Christ follower. That shouldn't be the case. If you're speaking the truth, you're going to be hated by those who despise the light. So that's one of the problems that we're dealing with, is that people want to make Christianity safe. It's not. It's dangerous because it shines light on evil. So I'm curious about how we would move forward when it comes to revealing what is real. Like you talked about, the propaganda is Islam is a religion of peace. Well, who's killing who? I don't know of anywhere else on earth. The number one persecuted religious group on earth, at least for the last 5, maybe 10 years, is Christians. That's just true. That's human rights groups. That's not Christians coming up with that idea. So the absurdity of pretending that this isn't happening is so demonic. It has to be, because how can people not see reality and say, this is evil, this has to end? So I think you talked about jihad as being a way to manipulate reality by lies. And there's a very interesting concept. Islam is almost like a counterfeit Christianity.
It is.
Because Christianity says that you must be a truth teller. Christianity says that you must have integrity, that you must not lie. As a matter of fact, it's in the Ten Commandments. Bear no false witness against your neighbor. It's sacrosanct. It's a mandate by God. Islam has a. Do you know a guy named John Guandolo by any chance? Do you know that name?
Yes.
Okay. Well, he's a friend of mine, and he's the one that taught me that there's some. And I'm going to let you talk about it quickly, just so people understand all the other little intricacies of Islam that you may not know until you find out. But there's a passage, or there's a principle. You're allowed to lie to people.
Yes.
If it enhances Islam. You're allowed to lie to people, and it's blessed by God, by Allah,
Yes.
as long as it is moving Islam forward. You're not allowed to lie to another Muslim. So that's a tricky one. But anyways, can you tell us a bit about that? Interesting, because some of these people say, well, they're saying we don't want that, and we just got a Muslim mayor now in New York. No, I want to take care of everybody. I want to let people. They don't understand. Their religion allows them to lie about things like that.
Yeah.
And so can you tell us about that principle so people understand that?
Yes. First, we need to understand this phrase, bait of Satan. There's a bait not only we as fishermen, for soul winning we need to use, but enemy uses a lot of baits. And one of them are those baits that we buy into this Islam facade message that, Islam is a peaceful religion. And then the mayor comes, and of course he's going to look great. Of course he's going to look peaceful while he's signing permissions to build more mosques, while he's signing so many underground meetings about radical Muslims. Of course he's not going to tell your face, this is my agenda to do it. But there's a hidden agenda here, I believe. Consider it my opinion. I'm taking the weight from you. But I want to tell you this. They're going to put this facade. And media has been doing a great job, by the way, brainwashing everybody. Hitler said, say it so many times until they believe it. It was said so many times that, they came and they lied and on TV, and we started believing Israel is the evil one and Hamas is the good one because they are freedom fighters for those poor people. And, excuse me. Yes, Muslims, radical Muslims, it's okay to lie and cheat to infidels. Not only that, there are some brainwashing beliefs that you can rape a Christian woman and it won't be a sin. I mean, this is the reality I lived in. This is the reality I saw. I don't know how people can be so gullible here. And without knowing, first of all, they don't teach anything in our schools about, other cultures and enough for them to understand our children. So people are so gullible about whatever they see on social media, they believe. They don't even know if those are the dead bodies are belonging to Israeli kids. And I have so many people, so many cameramen, so many news anchors in those lands who are Christians and can prove otherwise. But it is okay to lie. It is okay to generate images on AI and put it on Israel. It is okay. Because this is Islamic agenda. You can lie, you can cheat, as long as you are serving the greater cause, including killing, including rape. Lying is the most minor one. They are like a lying machine. Anyway, I grew up in an environment, everybody is a lying machine. But we don't understand it in here because we are very trusting, but to a point of foolish and gullible.
Well, and you know what? Interestingly enough, Ishak, what that is a manipulation of Christian virtue.
Yes.
See, Christianity is unique. One of my jokes, it's just a line, it's not so clever, but people like it, is, how do you know if your country's great? Do people want in or do they want out? And I don't hear about people digging holes, digging into North Korea. Not sure if anybody's seen. So it's a little funny joke, but the principle is simple. You don't have to decide how great your country is, or try to propagandize people, or try to tell them A, B, and C. You just have to open your eyes. Are people trying to get in or out? If they want in, there's something better. And if you're leaving your own country, clearly you're saying, something's here I don't got over here. So why would they do that? They're certainly not saying, let's choose to go to a worse country. No. So that's an interesting phenomenon, is to see that people want here. But why? Well, I believe, and I definitely want to get into your Christian faith and how that changed your perspective and your ministry, which is driven by that. But, Christianity does something and says something that is so radical, that is so absurd in the natural man, and certainly such a differentiation between any other belief system ever, philosophy or whatever. It says this: love your enemy and pray for those that despitefully use you. Now, that is crazy. That doesn't make any sense naturally. I even made a joke, about, the good news is it says pray for those who despitefully use you, but it doesn't tell you what to pray. And that gets a big laugh. But then I finished that by saying, but you know what, folks, actually, you do know what to pray, and that is for their salvation, for their repentance, for them to come to you. So you cannot love your enemy unless you have an enemy. You cannot pray for those that despitefully use you unless you're despitefully used. In other words, that's coming. That's part of the sinful, fallen world. You're going to have enemies. You're going to have people that hate you. And certainly as a believer, Christ follower, they're going to hate you just because you love Jesus. And he said that if they hate you, they hated me first. All of these attacks are against Yeshua. All of these attacks are against the Messiah. All of these attacks are the demonic workings of Satan using religions and philosophies to do his handiwork, to kill the most precious things to God, and that's his children who've given their lives and their souls over to him through Christ. So if that becomes part of the cultural milieu in the West, obviously it doesn't happen in the Middle East. It's a different religious belief system. Or in communist China, in communism, you hate your enemies, you kill your enemies, you imprison your enemies, you destroy your enemies, you brutalize your enemies at the point of a bayonet, and you demand that you worship the state. So everything else sounds like a normal thing a person would say, that is, you're my enemy, I must destroy you. You treated me evilly, I'm going to treat you evilly back. Christianity says, I'm going to show you such a unique, supernatural way to live that people can't help but notice it, because it doesn't make sense. But because of the idea that idea, and the idea of the Good Samaritan, to love someone who's not of your tribe, who's not of your family, who's not of your ethnicity, and to give love and compassion to them, where we get the idea of hospitality and hospitals and taking care of the marginalized and the human rights. All these came from God and through Christianity and Judaism. So what the Muslim, what the communist, what the others do is they take this wonderful virtue, but they secularize it. They use it as leverage to guilt you if you try to hold somebody accountable for the behavior, that you're racist, you're bigoted, you're hateful, and so your own Western values of wanting to be kind to folks says, oh, maybe I need to censor myself and step back. I didn't mean to do that. And you end up destroying discernment. Because these churches that went around going, listen, we just want to love you. Jesus loves you just the way you are. Well, no, he doesn't. He loves you the way you can become if you accept him. He went to the cross because he doesn't love you the way you are. You need to get redeemed. And so this is what these folks have done, is that they've taken this idea of not making somebody feel offended, which is a way for the Holy Spirit to convict them, to bring them to repentance. So that being said, it does appear that the great flaw or the challenge in the West is because we, whether you know it or not, even if you're secular, but you're a Westerner, you're using Christian values to try to be kind to people that are different than you, and they manipulate that to literally strip away your freedoms as well. So what would you say when it comes to this other hot topic, which you mentioned, but let's go a little bit deeper? Israel. Clearly, every country around Israel wants them dead. And now we seem to have some folks starting to question even Israel's, goodness or justice or whatever. So why don't you talk to us a little bit and help people understand your perspective as a Christian, as a former Muslim who understands how they're taught to think about Israel and Jews and Israel in general. Give us a broad perspective of what you think God's telling you about all of that right now.
Well, first and foremost, everybody should know that I was brainwashed to hate Israel and Jews. I was brainwashed to hate infidels. So that was my normal thing. And as a matter of fact, you quoted from the Word of God saying, love your enemies. This was one of the first scriptures I ever heard when I was a Muslim. And it completely blew me away. I mean, I was like, love your enemies. I mean, we even have jokes in the Muslim world that when we hate someone, we tell them you can't live because usually we're gonna hurt you or we're gonna kill you. And this is a joke amongst my friends in high school or Korean courses. I hate you, but I will allow you to live. So this is how far we go. You know, our even humor is very dark because we grew up in these kind of environments. For a Jew, for Armenian, it's normal for us to hate them, and it's very normalized. We are desensitized about their life, value of their lives. So, and we are talking about now taking it into the perspective of Israel and where I am today. Of course, God did a major transformation in my heart, and I started seeing everything from the biblical perspective, from the heart of the Father, and how much He loves this little land, which is not the original promised. Original promise is a lot bigger. I think the enemy, this 1.7, 1.8 billion Muslims, are afraid of the greater picture, not only Israel right now. They are afraid of this 17 million people amongst the 1.7, 1.8 billion Muslims. It is considered a threat. It is not because it's a threat maybe now, but it's the potential is a threat. And it's always enemy is gonna fight against the potential, not only our current version. And it does it to all of us, including you and me. And Israel is representing that, but the so crooked and so deceitful side about this, especially in the recent events, especially during the recent war, is that somebody, I just want to make it like relevant to each and every one of us. Somebody is coming into your house and raping your children and taking them hostage and throwing bombs and burning your house down, and you are expected to do nothing. This is how much and how absurd and how extreme level people are brainwashed against Israel right now. And when you want to do something in return as a consequence of the violence, that trauma that you experience, you are the one called evil. You are the one called that you are in the wrong and attacked. This is the brainwash of today right now. There are
Yes.
still hostages being released little by little, and they are never going to recover unless there's a supernatural intervention of Jesus Christ. They are never going to recover from what they've been through, horror that they've been through. And this happened in front of our eyes. But deception is like this. Deception makes people see the right wrong and wrong right. And that is why anti-Semitism grew at schools. People start walking and throwing slogans against Israel. Why? Because of the deception that was so prevailing and relevant to them.
They call America the Great Satan. They call
They do.
Israel the little Satan. So what is it about? I mean, I guess I know, but again, as clips like this go out and educate people, sometimes I'll even say something that we've already kind of covered just to give it another sense of opportunity to educate. What do you think it is about America and Israel that is so despised? Is it because in America because we're mainly Christian and that's what they hate? Is it because they hate Jews in Judaism? Is it because we're free? Is it simply because we're not Muslims and their whole point is everybody's a Muslim or they're going to die? What would you say is the reason why we are so despised amongst the rest of the nations when it comes to Islam and how they view us?
Well, first of all, it is ordered in Quran. Quran is like completely coming from that perspective and originated with complete hatred towards. So if you are studying, you are part of it, and your God is telling you to hate them, and your book is considered a perfect book without a flaw, and it's only requiring you to obey. If you want to be accepted, you need to obey. You don't question Allah. You just obey. If He told you to, and it says it in the Quran, even though you don't want to fight, you still need to fight. You need to decide you will be despised by Allah or you will be despised by infidels. And you need to fight so it is explained in a manipulative way, deceitful way so well in the Quran. There is a mandate for every Muslim to hate infidels. And then you look at who is the biggest infidel, who is the biggest force and power in the Western world. It's America. But they hate England as much as they hate other Denmark or other countries in Europe. They do. Because the moment they see you as a non-Muslim, this is what is commanded to them. And of course, Jews, they have to hate because there's a historic war of this is your land, this is my land. I usually also joke too, because we survived through humor in terrible circumstances in the Middle East. A woman want to have a nice kitchen in the house. I don't want kitchen. I don't want the house. I want to have a land. Because it is embedded in me, in my DNA. I don't care for the house. I want a territory. This is a Muslim mind. And this is a historic truth that they are fighting over a little land, but territory is important to us.
Yes, indeed.
In the Middle East. And that is the reason Israel is taking this piece of little land or not. That they believe historically that is their land. And they will do anything, they cheat in any way to prove that and try to take that land.
Who is Ishmael in the Muslim world?
Well, Ishmael is Abraham's chosen son. Of course, it is not like how we read it in the Bible, and it is not how we believe in the Bible, but Ishmael is the only one that is pointed out. So there is, it's not completely truthfully branching out between Isaac and Ishmael even equally. So our focus was on Ishmael. Our focus was on Hagar. But of course, after I came to Christ, I am not a daughter of Hagar anymore. I am a daughter of Sarah.
But what Ishmael, do you think, is basically the progenitor for Islam, for,
yes.
I guess, I don't know. Do you think that is basically your forefather, so to speak, of that ethnicity in Saudi Arabia and what so forth. I just wanted to see, is that how they see Ishmael?
Well, this is how it is taught, and of course, it is way before coming from the religion of Islam. Islam is coming 500 years later, 500 plus years later than Christianity. So there was no Islam back then, but however, they believe from Abraham's lineage they are coming, and of course. He owns the land, not Isaac owns the land. All of these things, of course, creating this historic deception.
So this is an important piece of the puzzle, because we're not just sitting here just disagreeing with Islam or Judaism or Christianity or any other thing. We're simply trying to point out what is true about what the book says, how they're supposed to live, does it entail, and the actual fruit of these behaviors. So let's get down to something you've mentioned a few times, but a little bit more detailed, because this will maybe hit people home a little bit more emotionally and psychologically. The role of women in Islam, if they're doing it, if they are full-blown, truly Saudi Arabia-like, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan-ish, Sharia, the end, if they're doing it as by the book, no pun intended, it sounds like women have a miserable existence. Now, maybe they think it's okay because as their belief system says them, no, I'm doing God's work by being treated like this. But talk about, what is it like really to be a woman under Sharia law and in Islam?
Well, I didn't grow up in Sharia law, but I can tell you this, just like in a Muslim home. I was the firstborn, and my mother called herself barren until she had my brother.
So women don't have status?
There are some status for women, and I had to work extra hard. I had to study extra hard, obtain some, degrees to still be a second-class citizen, so to say. Unlike how I am treated, how I am and I have been treated in the United States of America. But on the other hand, I was less than a cow in certain circumstances. A lot of places, men wouldn't even talk to me despite of my degrees and diplomas and studies and how hard I worked. So you have to fight for that. And let's be real, when your book is ordering men or telling men, giving a permission to men to have many wives, so 4 of us, 5 of us are equivalent to 1 man, what does it tell you? And there are so many sayings, so many proverbs about the differences, superiority of man in the society, in the culture, in the religion, that superiority can exercise any abuse and he will be in the right. And that is part of Sharia law. And Sharia law is, by the way, in the United States right now. There are Sharia law courts in the United States. There are women that if they are beaten up, there are villages in Texas that as a Christian, you cannot live. This is in America happening today.
Where is that in Texas?
In Texas, if women beaten up in that colony that they are building in America right now, and she's beaten up, she goes to U.S. courts, and on her driver license, she has her address. They're going to send her, you need to go to the court in your address where you belong, and where she belongs is a Sharia court. This is America. We don't need to go to the Middle East right now. They are in our backyards, and we are still sleeping, or in our church, we are still, singing our hymns and songs, but we are not aware of what the enemy is doing in our backyards.
So God did an amazing work in your life, a beautiful sanctification of where you were and what you've become. I'm sure you are... there probably aren't words to describe your gratefulness for God's showing mercy on you and defending you. And so clearly, to whom much has been given, much will be expected. And so you have amazing, committed heart to fellow Muslims who are still there. You obviously have a heart for anybody to know Christ, but a special heart for those who came out of a place that you understand more than others. So talk a bit about your ministry. I think you have a book perhaps that's already out, and maybe another one coming that I'd love for people to understand that might educate them. But talk about your heart now, and also maybe throw in to your average Christian, what is a way to engage, to witness to effectively to a Muslim that they might come across?
Yes. Thank you, Brett, for asking me this. First of all, my ministry is primarily targeting Muslim world. And I am not sure, like you said, you mentioned it, I am not sugarcoating anything. One reason that they are listening to me, because I was one of them. And I know what they believe, and there's no here mumbo jumbo that I have to believe in the lies that they are believing. And I tell them, I totally understand where you are coming. I was brainwashed like you. I receive hundreds of threats every single day. I led personally, by grace of God, all glory to God, terrorists to Jesus Christ. During my ministry, because I quoted the very scripture that love your enemies. You hate me, you want to kill me, but I love you, and I'm committed to love you until my last breath. But here is the thing, they are hungry for truth. They are coming to Christ, millions of Muslims coming to Christ, because this is the time. I believe I am called for such a time as this. This is my position. But on the other hand, like you said, I don't take America for granted. And when I see they are burning American flags in front of White House or anywhere, and then applying for, green card and everything, I'm so opposed to those things that they are doing, hating a country and trying to invade this country with their hatred. I am very, very open about my speeches. I'm very honest and direct. And I think a lot of them, by leading of the Holy Spirit, is hearing me correctly and saying, and I don't want to be a preacher. I don't want to be this person or that person. I am their next door neighbor who been through stuff. I am that Samaritan woman, and telling them, here's the Messiah and he's the only way. And I think this is the era and in our history that every Christian has a responsibility to share the gospel and good news with others. It is not about how many Muslims are coming here, how many Muslims we are as Christians influencing with the love of Jesus Christ.
Well, and I'm sure if you are as bold as you seem to be, certainly here, and obviously I'm sure you've done that since your ministry began, it's clear that it's not without a price. I'm sure that you have had death threats. I'm sure that you have, I don't know if it's called a fatwa, I don't want to say the wrong word, but it seems like it's basically somebody puts a contract out on your life if you are disparaging Islam or the Prophet. And again,
absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm sure that's you're accepting that as the cost for fellow Muslims, people, true believers who are trying to become disciples, which is what we were called to be. We were never called to be Christians. We were called to be disciples. Is a discipline. It's difficult. It's a sacrifice of your life to others and a chance to share in Christ's suffering and to basically take a turn, being Jesus for whatever that takes for the sake of others. So is that a book you have there that you can get?
This is Heavenly Whispers. It's a 365-day devotional, because everybody needs a jump start, and it has a lot of healing, trauma healing pieces, and also starting empowered by God, kind of God's letters to his children. A lot of people need that. I need to start my day right. So
Yes.
God gave me a lot of revelations for 365 times, and I said, I better be a good steward to turn it into a devotional for people to hear, help to hear, or tune their hearts for greater, deeper intimacy with Jesus.
And this is from personal experiences and things, or?
Yes, this is from my personal encounter, very revelational book that God has been speaking to my heart. Every day is a different piece, different. I don't know if you know, my go-to devotional was Jesus Calling. So after 5 years reading Jesus Calling, I started praying, God, I need another devotional. Where can I find another one? He's like, sit down and write one. And then he started just giving me downloads after downloads to hear his like heavenly whispers, his whisper to our hearts.
And if someone wanted to give to your ministry, participate, volunteer, help, maybe educate
Please.
themselves, yeah, how would they do that? Where would they go to find you?
Well, they can write to us info@ışıkabla.com. It is ISIKABLA.com, or they can go to my website. It is ışıkabla.com, and they can find much more information to how to support and how to be part of it.
Well, we certainly will have a link on that too. And I just feel prompted to say this as we come to the end of this, and perhaps we can talk again someday or meet each other, God willing. But if you were to leave a message to a Muslim who stumbles upon this interview right now or listens to it, and of course there would be no stumbling, it would be providential, it would be sovereign. But if you were to suddenly, I just feel a sense that God would say to me, they just tuned in, they found you, and they're Muslim. Leave them with something that they wouldn't find anywhere else.
Yes. I would tell them, as I always say, that first of all, God loves you, and he loves you unconditionally. But love is a language that is proven by behavior, by action. And Jesus showed that love not in words, but dying on the cross for you and for me. And if you were the only person on the face of the earth, he will still come and die on the cross for you. And I pray that you receive the revelation of Jesus, who he really is. Maybe you are believing that he's a prophet today, but then you don't know who really Jesus is. Jesus is more than a prophet. He is God. He's the true God, and he's the only way to heaven. And my prayer is that not only in this life, in the coming, you will be with him forever and ever.
Amen. Well, that's a beautiful sentiment. You know, it is the biggest deception, you know, for Muslims if they do read the Quran. The one thing that it does say that should give them pause is it says that Jesus wasn't crucified. Now, that's a style. It says he wasn't crucified. Well, we have historical evidence of historians that mention the crucifixion of this itinerant rabbi in Jerusalem who was crucified. So historically, there's no one that disagrees with that. So right there's a discrepancy in your book that was written, like you said, 600 years later, than every bit of evidence, even from atheists who are just historians, all agree Jesus was crucified. Now, whether he came back from the dead, was God, that's up for dispute. But nobody disputes that. So if you have one piece of your holy book that has already been proven in error, perhaps it's time to start finding out, well, then what is actually true? Because I do say this, I would say, for Muslims, your heart is after God. I mean, you're trying to find God. You want to know truth. You want to know the supreme being. So that's good. You're open. But go find the true God, and he will set you free. Folks, this is Işık Abla. Please get her book. It will help you in her devotionals. Please support her financially. Please come out and watch her when she's working and speaking. Just give her support. And, you know, if any of you were touched by this, maybe you're a former Muslim yourself, or if you're a Muslim, I'm sure they'd allow you to be happy to contact you and help you and walk you through this this change if you want to make that. But if you're a former Muslim, they maybe want to help in the ministry, I'll bet you they would love to hear from you. Either way, pray for her. Her life is at stake, as all of ours should be. But to be a true believer means, if it costs me my life, so be it. I'm already eternal, and I'll see you on the other side. And that's what it means to be a disciple of the living God. God bless you for your great work and for what you're up to. Cannot wait to see what God has in store for you, folks. As you know, if they ever come up to you and say you're being politically incorrect, always say thank you for the compliment, because politically incorrect means you're speaking the truth. And me, I'm trying to inspire you, maybe with some humor, but mainly with some truth and God's anointing, and doing what I'm supposed to do, which is put the woke back to sleep. See you next Monday.